Same request from me.
So it's okay. Now we are recording it, right? Thanks. So please, if you have any queries, please stop me at any time, right? And then this is the content of the planned workshop. I will not be able to cover everything, but at least the plan is I will give you the basics, the directions for the, how to learn Python programming. And also very briefly, we are going to look at, couple of, applications, right? So this is already sent it to you. I'm not going to go through, but plan for today is I will, at the end of the workshop, I will give you like idea like how you can execute Python programming in different places, different ways. At the same time, write a very basic script. So that's the plan for today. Right, the two main software tools I plan to use for today's session is, the Python. If you install the Python, you will get Python default ID. We call it's an idle environment. If you do not have the installed one, there are like plenty of online, interfaces at the same time. The interface available in the Python the website as well. So I will be using those two in the beginning. And later stage, I will focus more on, data analysis part, because as academics, most of the time we could use this for the teaching as well as the research and also the development. So for that, actually, there's what we call Jupyter notebooks. That means you can use it as a notebook. This environment's available for a couple of languages. If you're familiar with R, you can use this with R as well. For actually, it's Jupyter Notebook starts for Julia and Python and R. So those, it actually support a couple of languages, and then quite common in Python as well. If you look at data analytics, people share their codes nowadays, commonly available. You can actually freely, download it and use it. So that one of the implementation is actually integrated with the Google as well. So if you have a Gmail account, hopefully we have. So in that particular case, you can actually go to what we call Google Collab, right? So using Collab, you can actually write the Python script as kind of a notebook. That is also I'm going to, consider as a software tools for the workshop. Do you have any questions up to now? Right. Okay. For the workshop preferences as well as for my teaching, what I have used actually these two links. You can look at the same. The first one actually is a freely available book and quite popular one. So those who are actually starting, since you are the academic members, I hope it won't be that issue like going through this. And it nicely written in a very simple language from, very simple concepts to more complex one. So if you are thinking about, following or, ready material, not, videos or the, tutorial, then my recommendation is, please, you can refer the first one. And that is exactly what I have used in, all my lectures so far, and also some of the example directly coming into this, right? The second one is if you're thinking about the very simple tutorial, you want to quickly learn, all right, not with more details, then I actually recommend the second link where, you have a couple of, programming languages you can use in there. So it actually have a very simple interface, and there's an online coding environment as well, so you don't have to install anything. You can try your piece of codes there, right? So those are the materials that I'm going to use. Right now, if one of you ask me like why Python and why people talk a lot about Python recently, if you look at rankings of different programming languages, you can see that Python is popping out. So this is actually one of the indexes, Cube, and it is a software quality company where it ranks programming languages based on the Google searches. And according to them, here is the rank for programming languages for the month of May. So actually it will compare May 2021 as well as May 2020. So you will see that Python is coming up, right? If you look at, the internet search for the Python grown very rapidly over the couple of years, especially in data analytics, and even in the faculty. Actually, we have promoted this, especially with the first years, because it's very similar to Matlab in some sense. And then there are mapping functions where there are some documentation. If you know already Matlab, then you can very easily switch to Python as well. Right. So if you look at like commonly people use languages, I have highlighted Python. I think in the academic community we use. If I hope I heard already you are learning R, especially popular in a statistical community, and then definitely Matlab. So you will see where the Python stands. This year we have seen, even Python goes beyond the Java as well, right? Still people see C is still popular. So you see the number one is still in C. There are some differences, but what you commonly see is the Python getting the popularity. And I guess it'd be a high time that we also get familiar with the Python. Not to write programs, but at least to use them, right? Right. Okay. So then if you go look at the Python programming, and if you ask me like why Python programming, so there are simple things, the features of the Python we can look into. Now, first one is you will realize when you compare the different programming languages, if you're a beginner, I think this is very simple programming language to start with. Now, for example, when we're recommending languages for the beginner, and if you look at the usage of Python, that means if you know Python, what you could do, right? You can actually touch on a lot of areas of development, right? So that's a plus point. And the very first one, I guess, it will be the simple. It'll be easy to learn. If you have already learned the programming language, you already know that Python is very simple to learn, right? I'll come to that point later. And once you write the program, then you can, run it everywhere. Now you see that Python can be installed in your smartphone if you want. And if you look at the more powerful computing, right, in the supercomputer level, like places like NASA and Google, where like there are heavy computation happens. So they are as well, you can run the same code, right? So that is actually another advantage. And free and open source. We know, we prefer Matlab, but you know that getting genuine copy might be difficult in a country like ours. So maybe then one of the solution might be go for free and open source. Definitely a Python will be a choice. Likewise, there are many more. I will not go into more details, but the last one, last point here, I want to stress, there are a lot of extensive libraries. Let's say you want to develop a game. Yes, there's a library for that. You need to go for graphics. You have a library for that. You know to manipulate images. Yes, there's a library. So likewise, there are extensive libraries that people are developing that. So that is also another advantage why you might think about like learning Python, as well as explore more about Python programming language. Right. Now, when I actually search your queries, so this is what I have got, like this is, Taglak Uci. So here, you will see that your requirements. When I ask, what do you expect from the workshop? Many of you actually expect, beginner stuff. Whereas some of you actually, I know already you have some background in Python. And then you look at like what kind of application and so on. But since the majority expectation is the basics, I actually thought about we'll more focus on the basic, Python programming in this workshop. And also, like, I will directly like give you some links for you to explore more on, Python. Right. Now, this is one of the things that I have stressed earlier as well. You will see the source for more details. You can go there to look at, like, when you want to choose a programming language, what programming language you should choose. And here actually this graphic shows you different areas of the development, like web, game, mobile, and data analytics, and even the embedded systems. You will see majority of our places the Python language is there, which means when you learn Python, you can play a role in the different development environment, right? One of the places where like Python is not quite popular is actually mobile development. So that might be a disadvantage in one sense, but I think as academic staff members, we focus more on the other things like embedded systems, especially and data analytics and so on. So these might be the areas that where you can apply your Python skills. Okay. Now, before we go on to talk about the basics of programming languages, let me briefly go through like what libraries are available, so that if you already know the background, maybe you can explore more on, these places, right? Now, for example, I told you like Python is quite popular in data analytics. And especially when you want to analyze the data, you have to, especially we collect the data as files, maybe comma separated values, CSVs or Excel, that format, or maybe it comes from as the database stuff, right? But when you want to handle these various data formats, you can easily use, there's a package library called pandas, where you can actually efficiently handle matrices, like in Matlab, right? So that's one of the things you can start with, especially your focus is more on data analytics, data handling, right? Then you know that the next step would be like most of them, once you have data, you try to understand your data, and then you should go for visualization. So in this particular case, you have a Matlab, like actually it's coming from Matlab. So same commands you actually write in Matplotlib library in Matlab. Matlab plotting you can use easily in the Python. It's the same thing, same commands with slight modification, which I'm going to discuss in the workshop. And then numerical computations is the NumPy, numerical Python. So most of the time we actually taught this in the first years as well. Since I'm an engineers, like most of the time we use numerical computing. So for that, you can actually look for the numerical Python. Then if you're more on to statistics, signal processing optimization, yes, you can have another library called SciPy. Maybe if you go into the links, you can see, I think I will go to the next one. So there I will show you like, more stuff is there. So you can visit the links for more details. Then the machine learning libraries, there are 3 machine learning libraries I have listed here. For everything like all the machine learning general algorithms, you can go for scikit-learn. It's mainly used for data mining, data analytics, and as well as machine learning stuff. I will visit after this. And then, TensorFlow and also Keras. Okay, sorry, the link I have to change. I will update it. TensorFlow and Keras, actually, you can focus more on neural networks, right? Right. Okay. So let me go through the links. Let me quickly go back to so I have given you this. You can actually browse the same at the same time. There's a PDF document I have shared with you about all the links, right? Let me share you some of the things, since most of you look at machine learning and data analytics. I will go to that one. There was the links are not really updated, right? So maybe quickly I will send it to you through the chat. Scikit-learn, So I will share the link in the chat so that you can access it with me, and at the same time, I will share the screen. Right. Okay, so here's the link for the machine learning library. And let me share the screen as well. Right. So here we have a whole library on machine learning in Python. And all these things you will see actually built on top of NumPy, SciPy, and also Matplotlib, the plotting libraries. So one of the interesting things you will see here is you will see there are stuff for classification problems, like when you want to identify different objects in different categories. So then you can actually go for different algorithms. And also the examples are given here. You can visit there, and everything is documented very nicely so that actually you can learn from the beginning. So the code snip given here now, for example, if you go to recognize a handwritten digits, they start looking at the data loading, and also like how you may actually talk about classification. At the very end of the workshop, the set of workshops that we have actually planned, I will briefly go through the machine learning applications. We will do start with data loading as well as selection of machine learning algorithms, and plus the prediction, right? And then also looking at classification report, different measures. So that's what we actually planned at the very end. But those who are already familiar, so you can actually visit places, and there are a lot of examples there. You can start with those examples, right? And the next one that I would like to show you is Matlab plotting library. If you go there, you will see that you will see the very same interface you will see in Matlab, and the commands. If you go through the commands, right? So you have examples given here. So if you go to examples in Matplotlib, so you will see they have given you a set of plots where you can start with. So if you can directly start with by selecting the plot you need, right? So for example, if you start with the very basic stack bar chart, so you will see the interface, or the graph is very similar to the graph you will get in Matlab plotting, right? So and the command, if you go through, there are slight differences, but majority will be the same, right? So you can have a look at till actually I will go through them in coming workshops, right? So likewise, you can visit the others, and if you have any anything you need to be clarified, I mean, please post them to me. So I would like to answer your queries. Right. Let's go back for some resources. So let me share the screen again. There are some useful resources, a lot of useful resources are there, but since many of you are want to know more on data analytics and Python, there's one resource I normally use, and actually the website actually developed by one of the pioneers in machine learning and data mining. It's called KD Nuggets. So there you have everything about AI, data science, machine learning, Python, even the R, right? So I highly recommend you to start with. But if you have to have some background knowledge, otherwise that means more complex topics they will talk about this. But let's say you have some background in data mining or data analytics. Maybe if you need to learn more, please visit the website. There are a lot of information out there to actually learn. So let me quickly show you like some places where you can look at it. Let me share my screen. So here is the KD nuggets. So the main topics actually they have listed here. You can look at AI, data science, visualization, deep learning, machine learning, natural language processing, Python, R. Even you can go for statistics. And then there are a lot of posts out there. A lot of polls are going on. They have online meetings, courses, like if you want to follow some online courses, you can go there. And then software. So they talk about a lot about the software developed in this particular area, and they write articles about it. The companies for consulting and the products, and even the data sets. Now, for example, since we are interested in data analytics, if you look at for the data, so you can look at, they have listed out where the data repositories where you can look at freely available data. Because sometimes we know that when it goes for analysis, we will have a problem of, collecting the data. So while you are collecting data in your context, so you can actually start the analysis by, starting with the existing data. Right. So this actually even have the jobs or job opportunities, or maybe like if you want to excel in one particular area, what skills to look for, right? And this is frequently updated. You will see like where we are, heading in, especially in, data mining, and also machine learning, and then places where even the postdoctoral, work is available, PhD positions, especially when students query me about like PhD positions in data mining and machine learning. I recommend them to go there because they are frequently posting about the, PhD opportunities as well. Right. So I think you can spend some time on this to learn more. Then if I switch to the next one, I have listed some data for analysis. Yes, you have already seen that in KD Nuggets, they have listed a large number of data sources, but it's still you can go for the Kaggle.com. Actually, they put the competitions in this particular case and at the same times they held the competitions, and then they pay prize for the winners, and then the solutions are available for you to use. So let me quickly just show you like interface there as well. This is actually one of the places I used to, ask my students to look at it when they talk about the, the problems and the data. So the beauty is, data sets are available. And then, if you go to the compete, you will see that there are like active competitions are there with together with the prices. So maybe if you are trying to, if you're good at data analytics, maybe you could try, right, to participating some of these competitions. And then the data, as I told you earlier, data is available. Data sets are there, so you can search database. Let's see, I have not done this earlier, but let's engineering, and then you can see like what kind of data is available. You see different things are there. And then code, I told you like, visualizations, predictions, and also like clustering, simile groupings. So various topics are there. And then you can actually even learn. There are courses where, how to use these notebooks. So the Kaggle also actually supports this Jupyter notebooks. They call Kaggle notebooks, where actually you can, learn. And you see, there are some courses actually they have developed for data visualization and machine learning. Right. Okay. And then the next one is Uci Repository, the next link. There are many, but this is quite common in machine learning community as a benchmark data set. And they are also like keep on, updating the content. Right. So if you go through this, you will see they have classified the data in different means, which means like, let's say you are trying to find a particular data set. So you can actually go for view all data set, and then you can actually see what kind of a data you are looking at. Now, for example, let's say I want a classification problem, then you can go for this classification and it'll come out, classification problems. Where you try to categorize into multiple groups. And then if you go inside, you have the data source, the date of data donated, and what publication actually made on based on these data set, which means quite useful if we are starting data analytics career, right? So you can start with the Uci Repository, and people even could publish. This is actually kind of a platform you can even publish it. Now this is interesting because when you want to select data, you can easily filter out, because you can select based on the data type and the area you are working. So we have engineering data sets. Let's see what we have there. Okay. So these are like some of the engineering related data sets available, right? So you can go through the data set to see whether you can find anything, any data set relevant to your particular interested area, right? Okay, so that's about the data sets, right? So we first look at the general interest in AI, machine learning, data analytics, and even the Python. And the last one, I would like, suggest some tutorials we are to start with. I mean, there are plenty of tutorials available, and it's up to you to, decide. Depend on your interest, you have to select these tutorials. But let's say you are a very, beginner, you want to start with, and here we have 2 links where you could, start learning Python. And there's another link called Data Camp, where they also post, various topics in data analytics actually. So, but these are some suggestions by me if you're interested in starting, learn Python by yourself. Right. Any questions you might have? Right. So there are a couple of questions on like how Python is used in particularly in civil engineering. I'm not going to go into details, but here are some of the links I could find on how Python is used in, especially in civil engineering. And there are some, if you look at the second one, there are some books written for civil, especially structural engineers, how to use Python in there. And then there are like freely available Python scripts, especially for structural engineers. So I have seen that especially in data traffic controls, also they have used some applications. I think I have listed in the next one. If you go to the next slide in the handout, you will see. So these are like applications people have developed in Python, right? So this is actually I have taken from one of the links here. So they have actually listed like how Python is actually used in civil engineering. I think it's the last one. You can go and visit and learn in more details how Python particularly used in civil engineering. So you can see from the list some of the things in different areas in civil engineering, the Python is used. I think the finite element applications actually we have also started in that time, and that is definitely you can focus on that one. Predicting traffic trends in highway engineering. So that is actually again people have done this in Python. So that's why I have listed from one of the links in the previous page. And I think more interesting one is the last one, particularly for me, like automation, like especially this structural designs and drawings. So there are some applications actually people develop, they are trying to automate them, right? So automation is one of the places where like we focus more on nowadays. So I think so you can read about these things for more details. But it's still actually we can have a look at while we talk about this in the workshop, right? I think that's all from my the background or the introduction to the workshop, and also the usage of Python and where to look for information about Python programming. So before I continue, I would like to have a small discussion, right? Before we, from this point onward, actually we are going to look at the basics of Python programming language. And as I told you, like my plan for today is to go up to the input and output, which means writing very small Python script, assuming that you don't have any Python background. So as I told you earlier, before I continue, I would like to hear from you, like what else you expect instead of the basics. We are going to start the basics. But any other things that you would like to discuss, maybe I could give you some hints where you to work with. Right. If you don't have any, maybe we'll take 10 minutes break, and after the 10 minutes, we'll start the basic. We have about 1 hour. So we will start maybe about 9:55. If everybody agrees, we can have a small break, and then we'll start the basics.
Can I interrupt, Mr. Sampath?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Some may not have Python installed in their computers. If you want to.
Oh, no problem, sir. You don't.
So
if you have an internet connection and a browser, that's enough for me.
Yeah. Is it no need to install Python?
No, not for today's session.
Okay. Then it's okay. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, if you're fine with that, let's have a small break. And 9:55, we'll start the basics. As I told you earlier, I will direct you like how you may actually run Python if you have an internet connection and a browser. That's enough. That's all I need for today's session. Thanks.
Digal, just
yes.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm sorry that I have to leave since I have a session for E19 batch, but keep me count for the next session, right?
No problem. I will record this. So it's if you already know the basics, you don't have to come for the after the break. So that's why I'm not giving a break as well.
Okay. I have a session at 10 o'clock, right? Sorry.
It's okay. No problem. Right. Those who want to learn the basics, so we'll meet 9:55. Thanks then. Okay, so in this one, we will go for basics. So start with the installation details so that you can install Python if you are not already done so. And next one is there are other ways of running Python without installing Python in your terminal. So we will look at those options, and then we will talk about the basics in Python programming. So having said that, let's start. Let me share my screen. Right. To start with the Python programming, one thing we already know, Python is a high-level programming language like other programming languages such as C and Java, which means you have to, you can write your programs in English as English statements. Whereas early days you have to write either use low level languages, where in machine learning we have to use with zeros and ones and so on. But it's still you need program conversion, right? So which means we can write high level language programs and you can run in many systems because of this, because then when you want to run it, then you can actually make the conversion. And when you look at this, there are like two types of programming language: compiled one and the interpreted one, which means on the fly you are going to make the conversion. So Python is an interpreted language and it's easier for us to work with compared to compiled languages, especially if you're a beginner. Now, when you look at this, there are two modes in Python. You can go to interactive mode, like in Matlab. Matlab we can use as a calculator, and you can write the script. So similarly in Python also we have those two modes, right? The similar modes as in Matlab. So interactive mode, you can open up and then you can type it, right? So let me quickly show you how we might do in a system once you install, right? I know right now we don't. So let me go to my start. So once you actually start, install Python in your system, you should see similar, Python and with some version. And then when you click on that, there'll be idle, which means the default interface in Python, right? So when you open Python interface, you will see something like this with the command prompt, right? It's like in Matlab also you have that, which actually waits for you to type. Now let's say I want to print simple stuff. It will be a simple print, and maybe I can say put a simple message like this. So printing is one single function, it's like print, and within bracket you specify what to print. In this particular case, actually I have used single quote. That single quote actually indicate that it's a string, or you can say simply a message, right? And when you press enter, you will see the result, right? And similarly, you can perform calculations like simply 2 plus 3 will do the simple calculation, and call other functions like len. We can say this particular function actually calculate the number of characters inside this string, so which will give you 5 here, because you have 5 characters inside this string. So it's very simple. And this is how one mode, this is called interactive mode, when you want to try out codes, so you can actually use this interface. The next interface is writing as a script. So you have to go to file and new file, then you will get a new window you to type, right? So in this particular case, I can say, okay, print. I can say, okay, hello world. And then you can save this. Let me say file save. When you save it, you need to provide a name for this. So let me say hello world. And you save it as a Python file. So you will see that the .py is added, right? If you go back to your directory, and if you right click on the Python file, if you go to properties, you will see that the file extension is .py. So here we have .py, which means that is the extension, right? Now you can run it. Now this is the code, and now you can run it. You go to run module, which will execute your script in the idle, right? So you get the answer here. So if I go side by side, now let me put this into a side, and then this is my code, right? So whenever you say, okay, let me add another one. Right? And then this is a script, so you can just have to say save. And when you say run module, the output will be displayed in the other screen. Right? So normally when we are going to develop in programming, so you can use this interface, but to do that, you need to install Python. Right, now let me briefly explain the process of installing Python if you do not have to. So you can go to www.python.org. So you will look at, screen similar to this one. And you will have a interface here as well, in case if you have Python not installed in your machine. You can actually type the code here as well. It's possible, right? It's in installation. So we will go to downloads. When you click downloads, usually it identifies your default, appropriate download version for Python. The latest Python version is Python 3.9.5. So you can click this. So when you click this, it will download, right? It will download. Hopefully it's downloaded now. Let me click it again.
Sampath, do you need to select this the operating system down there on that click link?
Normally, you can if you want, but normally it will select the appropriate version for you, right? So the button I selected here. So you can actually select. So if you go back, let me go to small screen. Yes, I hope you can now see, right? So normally when you click it, it should select. Normally this button.
Mr. Sampath, it's downloading now for me. Like when I click that button,
it's downloading, right?
Yeah.
Now it's downloading my machine as well. Early it was not, for some reason.
Okay.
It should download it if you have a pretty decent internet connection. Within a couple of seconds it should download. Once you download, you can just double click it. If you go just now, if you're not going to change anything, right, you can select install now, and then yes. So it's pretty straightforward. It should install the Python in your machine. you don't have to do, any changes to this if it is a default. So in default, actually, you can install this. But if you want to change the place you want to install Python and so on, yes, you can actually change it. But otherwise, it will be very simple. You just download it and you select install now with the default settings. So in my machine, you will see that the installation at the very last stage. So hopefully, I have already installed 3.9. In that one, we will have 2 versions of this. So if I go to start now, and if I go to Python.
Mr. Sampath, excuse me.
Yes.
Is this software free and perpetual or what?
Sorry?
Is it free, the software?
Yes, it's free. This is free and open source software. Yes. So now I have 2 versions because I already have 1 version. So now in my machine, if you see 3.9 is here. Let me use magnifier so that if you have the difficulty, maybe I can large screen. So if I go here now, you will see now in my case, I have 2 Python versions I installed. Right. If this is a successful, don't worry. So you can use the same. Like I said, you can click this and you go to idle. But let's say if it is a failure, so don't worry again. We have other ways of running the scripts. So let me show them as well in case if this is not working. So in my case, it was a success, and this is my newest Python installation, Python 3.9.5. Right. If you have a success, please let me know in the chat so that I know that you successfully installed the Python, so that I can show you how you can actually work in Python in your machine. There are other ways, as I told you earlier. There are other ways of running the software, right? So I see like many of you are actually successful installations. Yes, Shamal, Vikram Singh, Jayalat. Okay, so at least we have like 3 participants successfully installed. Good, it's a good sign. Others, if you have difficulties, definitely there are other ways. Let me show you the second way of running this one. So for that, you need a Google account, right? So let's go to the browser. Go to Collab, collab.research.google.com. Right. And then click New Notebook. So you will get a new notebook, and there we can type Python script. I'll give you some more time. Those who are installing, Python, please post me whether it's a success.
Yeah, give me a couple of minutes. It's getting.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Take your time. Take your time. But I'm just at the same time, I'm showing like how you could do use the Collab environment, or we call notebook environment. So let me click New Notebook. So it will create a notebook for you, meaning like I will explain later on. You can type the codes. So for example, okay, now here is my notebook. I can just say print hello world. And there's a run button, which will actually run this cell. Click it. First time it will take some time, but the next time around it'll pretty fast. So you will get the output.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Sampath. Do you have to type collab.research.google.cpm or com?
Com. Google.com. I will share the link in your chats. So this is the other mode that I'm going to use in the workshop. So let me share in the chat. If you have done so I have shared the link for the other environment I'm planning to use in the workshop. So that's we call Collab environment or notebook environment, where you don't need to install at all. Right. Please post me in the chat if it is a success in either Collab environment or the Python installation. And if everybody ready, we can move to the next one. Right. So let me go to, now I hope you have at least one environment to start with. So I'll be using, both the interfaces in case if you have issues. Right. Now, having said that, let me move on to the basics. First, let's have a small discussion. Then I will show you, you can work on your environment. Right. Sorry, not this one. Right. Now we have already seen how to type something in the Python shell. If you have already installed Python, if you go to idle environment, this is what I mean. You just type the print function and you will get an output. Right. And if you are using a script mode, this is the steps in idle. You choose file, new window, and then you type the code, then you save it. Then you run using run module, or you can press F5. I think I described those two already. Okay, right. I will skip the description. Let's move on to the getting help. Now, as a starter, you should know how to get help in Python. Yes, you can look at, Googling the problem, but there's an inbuilt help in Python where you can ask for help. Right. So the commands is, now it's called help. Let me show you first. Let me go to screen. And then let me start with the interface. Okay, so I'm going to close this because this is 3.8. We have already installed the latest version, so I will use that one. Okay, so this is also a script. Let me use the idle. Assuming that you have installed idle, I will show you how to get help. So you just type help. Okay, let's say this is print function. We need to know more about the print function. So the command is you say help and then you say print. Right? So help print will give you the more help on the print function. For example, this talks about, let me So if you read the help, it will say help built-in function print module, and you say print value, right? And then you have 3 dots and comma, which means value to string, which means you can have multiple values in it, right? The help will say value when 3 dots here say, so you can multiple value. That means you can print multiple values. Print, you can say hello, you can say 5, 3.8, you can, type multiple values. So that's what we say values. And then the separation. So this it says string insert between values. Default is a space. Okay. So if you put this is the default value. If you do not put it, the value in between, you will have a space. But if you change this, then you will get a different, symbol between this. Now let me give you an example. We can say print hello. The values, I will put it as it. These are the values. But then after that, like this mention, if you put separation, if you decide, let's say I'm going to have a colon, right? If I put this, what will happen in the output? You will get in between, you have a colon, right? This is just one example where how you might use like more options available on print function. So likewise, if you need any other function, just type help and print. So the same thing in the Collab environment. If you are not successful in this, and if you installed this in Collab, so let's see how Collab respond to this. Let me go back. Okay, this is the place we are. So we said earlier print hello world, and if you run it, you will get the output. Hello world. Let me take another code window. So there are 2 types of windows. I will explain this later on what text is. For the time being, we'll take another code window, and I'm going to say help. I'm going to say print. Let me run. So similar output, you will get it here as well. How to use print. So I will get another one just to print what we did. We said hello. Right. If I print this, this is the output we will get. But at the same time, if you change the separation, here is the output of the final one. So we have actually learned this part by, going through the help. So likewise, if you need more details about any of the functions that you are going to use in Python, you can always use help function. If you're finished, please let me know in the chat so that I can move it, right? I don't have to ask from you. So please do use our chat session, chat to say that you have done it so that I can go to the next one. Finished up to this point? Okay, you don't have to use both the systems. So you can stick onto one, right? Okay, thanks, Rishika. Thanks, Hama. Okay, So I think we'll go back to the slide. Right. Help is, I think, now pretty straightforward. I hope you got the basics. So you know that you can just use the help function. If you need the general help, you can just use help without any value, which gives you, help environment. And then you can then type whatever the function name for that, right? Okay, let's basics. I told you I will quickly go to basics. I hope you have some understanding about the basic principles of programming language. So I will not spend a lot of time on this, but do use the chat in case if you have any, if you want to clear out anything. Right. Now, first of all, the constant and variables available, we know that the numbers, the strings, the values, for example, will not change usually, right? There's a numbers, if you take numbers as it is, it will not change. But yes, you can take it as a variable. When you take it as a variable, then yes, it might change. The value might change during the program execution. So when you talk about the variables, constants, first of all, we have to learn about, numbers available in, the Python, and the strings available in Python, and also like what forms you have, right? Now, for example, here, the number 5, that actually it will take as a whole number, which means in Python, it will recognize as a integer number. Then this is 1.23. It's recognized as a floating point number, which means you have a number with the decimal part. Third one, actually, in a way, it's a scientific notation. This means that, right, 9.25e minus 3 means 9.25 times 10 to the power minus 3. I will demonstrate. And this is how you may use strings. So I already discussed, to print a message, you can use single quotes, and at the same time, you can use double quotes. Right. So the 3 types I will explain now. So let me use the idle shell. If you do not have a shell, don't worry, you go to Collab environment. You can type the same in the code. And if you have any issues, please let me know. Now, I told you this is 5. Now, if you take 5 as it is, yes, it's print as it is. 1.23, it will take as it is. But if you have some number, e to minus 3, this is sometimes, I think you might be familiarized with in the programming languages as well. So you can represent numbers in different form. So this is to say that 9.25 into 10 to the power minus 3, which means you are getting 9.25 e minus 3, right? 0.00925. So likewise, if you put 2e3, that means 2 into 10 to the power 3, you should get this. But one thing you need to remember is, if you're using this form, you will take it as a floating point number, right? That means a number with a decimal part of it, right? So likewise, if you use the same number with or without a decimal point, it matters, right? Why I'm saying it matters, because if you do not have a decimal point, then it will take as an integer value. But the same number, so you will see here 508, but with the decimal point, it will take as a floating point number. These are the small things that you might sometimes, handle. And complex numbers, we can represent like this with the character J. You can have a real and imaginary parts you can represent, right? So basically, we'll start with looking at the numbers first. I mean, how do we know that Python takes as an integer value? Okay, now I'm going to explain another function called type function where you can check this, right? We'll switch to my idle session. Now I told you the numbers here. So if you say type 5, now I'm asking what is the type of this number? And then Python will say it's an integer, right? And then the next one, I will ask, okay, what is the type of 1.23? And it says float. And likewise, if I say 9.05e minus 3, it says it's float. And, you know, type 2e3, I know that it's 2000, but still it's float. One thing to note is like with and without decimal point. So if you say just type 508, the same number without any decimal point, it will take integer. But type 508.0, this becomes float. And even without 0, 508 point with you know, decimal point, it will take as a float. So this actually simple, you know, things that you might be, you know, interested in learning, because next time when we create matrices and functions, vectors and matrices, you will see this. Now, sometimes you will see values with a, you know, decimal point, and then Python will take it as a floating point number. Right. The next thing is it okay? Are you finished up to this point? Shall we move to the next? Right, good. Okay, so that's about just numbers, and then the string values, the messages or set of characters if you want to represent. So let's start looking at like how you may represent the characters. So the type function, as I told you, it will provide the type of object. So you can actually try all these. For example, this string. Okay, let me quickly show you that one as well. If you say type and string value, it will say it's a string. Similarly, double quotes also the same, but you cannot mix. Make a note of this. So Python will recognize this as a string. Right, okay. Let's move on. Strings focus on, I told you like there are two ways to represent. One is use of single quote. The other one is use of double quotes, right? So you can use either single quote, so double quote is possible. Now let me quickly discuss why we need these two. Now, for example, right now, strings. I told you like you will see print this hello world. There's no errors here. But if I type like this, this will indicate an error because, you know, Python could not identify this start and ending of this message. So that's because of this thing. Now, if you have single quote inside your string, then you may prefer double quotes. So I can get the same thing. Instead of single quotes, I can put double quotes. So this is possible. Now, let's say you need like double quote inside something. If you put like this will, generate an error because you cannot use double quotes within double quotes. So simply the solution is you use single quotes. Right? So I hope now it's clear about the different uses of single and double quotes. But let's say you need 2 lines or multi-lines, right? So then use triple single quotes or triple double quotes like this. Now, if I try to type single quote and try to type University of Peradeniya, let's say Sri Lanka, you can't go to the next line. It will generate an error. But if you put 3 single quotes and if you try to type the same thing, and if you finish with 3 single quotes, simply you will get University of Peradeniya. So that means you have a multi-line string. So similarly, the same thing, I can put using triple single quotes. Right, this is possible. Shamal, what was the exact question? It was not very clear to me.
Actually, what I wanted to know, when we save a file in this idle shell, is it possible to open in Collab?
No, you have 2 different versions.
Okay, okay.
So maybe you have to cut and copy paste
Right.
trick, because it's a text file.
Okay, okay.
When you save it, it's a text file. You copy paste, and then you will get the same thing in Collab.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thanks for asking questions. Right, are we ready? Shall we move? Right, the next one, let's put, go back to the slides again quickly. So strings we have discussed. I will share the notes with you, so you don't have to really worry about this. The point we have to take is triple quotes for multi-line strings. Either you can use triple single quotes or triple double quotes. It's possible. Right, okay. Now, when you want to create variable names, we call identifiers, there are some rules. If you're familiar with the other programming languages, you know that there are different rules actually we use. In Python, the first character should be alphabet, or it should be a underscore, right? So that means it could be a letter or it could be an underscore, right? Underscore means if you go to plus and equal button in your keyboard, there are 2 dashes. That means you have to take the dash and then the underscore. I think you have to type the shift, right? Shift and dash will give you the underscore. After the first character, then you can actually use characters, underscores, or digits, which means you cannot use spaces, you cannot use any other symbols. And it's case sensitive. What do you mean by case sensitive here? Now, if I type variable name, my name, and if I type my name in N capital are not the same. So make a note of this. Right, let me show you like simple variable handling. So to clear out with what we have. Now we know the variable means you are giving a name for something. So let's say my name. So I'm going to say, okay, my name is Sampath. Okay, and if I use this is to print my name, it will say Sampath, So when I type the variable name, we have to follow the rules, right? So I can start with underscore if you want. my name. It's working, no issues. This is possible, but no spaces. If I just type my name, this will give you an error saying that, okay, you cannot have spaces. It's like two, no, you can, it's not possible. Possibly would be like use of underscores in between. Right? So the knowing this is very, very important. You can't have spaces, or you can have any other symbols when you're creating variable names. That's a simple rule you don't you have to remember when you're creating names. And the other one is, now let's say my name is still, right? If I just type print my name, it'll be Sampath. But if you change this like my and capital name, it says there's an error, because my name in simple letters as well as my and in capital, my name, so those are taken as two different values. So keep this in mind. I think you get used to this anyway. Right. Next one, the keywords. Actually, this slide is about version 3.8. In version 3.8, there are like 35 keywords are used in Python, which means you cannot use any of these. Like, for example, class. You cannot use a variable name called class. It'll give you an error. Like if, like for, right? You already know these things, you will learn these things. And these keywords, you cannot use it as a variable name. I hope you already know this if you have already learned a Python, learn a programming language. Okay, assignment. You have to be, the assignment means like, you sometimes you initializing variables, you're giving assigning values for this. Usually in the two sides, your left hand side, it should be always a variable, and the right hand side, it could be expression. Expression means you can have values, you can have another variable, or you can have some operation. Now, for example, here, a equals 10 means you are creating a variable a, you assign 10 there. B equals a means you take the value of a, you assign to b. Actually, what happens in really Python is you create a space to hold the value. In this particular case, it's 10. And this is actually setting up the label, right? So if I briefly explain this, those who have understanding, otherwise you can forget about this. So what really happens here is, so when you say a equals 10, in the memory, there's a space allocated to whole 10. And when you say A10, you label this place as A, and then you hold 10. And next time what happens when you say B equals A, it will not create a separate space, but it will indicate the same place where it indicates the A, same location. Right. So if you look at this in simply, you can see we have A equals 10. So you can say print A, it's 10. Okay, A, so B equals A, print B, you will get the same thing. And when you say C equals A plus B, so basically it will be addition of A and B together. So it will get 20, right? Simple arithmetic will do the job. Okay, so that's about the simple, assignment. The next one we will look at it. the statements. I'm not going to explain this, but I hope you already know. The statements are basically the values and the variables and the operations, and also even the call the functions. So here we will say 1 plus 1, basically add up. This is addition of variables, again a statement, or you are calling a function. This already I have explained to you. Len means getting a length of the string, hello. So you will get 5 as the output. Right, so these are the arithmetic operators available in Python. Addition, subtraction, they are the same symbols. Multiplication, the star. Division is slash. Exponentiation is double stars, which means you can get a power of something. Then there are two divisions, integer division and modular division. Integer division means you divide it and you get the integer part of it. And modular division, you get the remainder. So let me quickly discuss this. Right, so let me say A equals 10. And let me put B equals, let's say 3. So when you say print A plus B, you know that it becomes 13 because 10 plus 3. Print A minus B. So it's 7, pretty straightforward. A multiplied by B, that's 30. Print A divided by B. So that's 3.3333 and so on. And then print integer division. I won't take the exponentiation, which means A, that means 10 to the power 3, B. We'll get 1000. Print, this is division. And this is integer division, A double slash B. The meaning of this is you get the divide A by B and get only the integer part of it, which means 3. It just discard this. It will not round off. Remember, very important. Just discard the decimal part of a number and give you only the integer part of it. And then finally, the remainder. The modulus operator remainder means you divide, in this particular case, A by B and get the remainder. So 10 divided by 3 and the remainder, which is 1.
Sampath, these all operations can be done without print.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
What is the difference? I mean, where it makes difference using print and without?
This happens in different places. Now, for example, let me explain this in a Collab environment. I'll go back to Collab environment to show you like why this is, why sometimes this is important. For idle environment, there's no problem of either you use print or not, right? So there's no big difference when it comes to this. You can even A divide by B, which will actually pretty straightforward. You will get the answer. But when you write multiple lines, there might be problems, right? So let me share the Collab environment. those who are doing in Collab environment, let me get a, let me share first. Okay. And then let me get a new code window. Right. In this particular case, let's say A equals 10 and I said B equals 3, right? Now, if you just say print, there won't be any problem. You can have any number of operations, the output you will get, right? I'm running this. There's no issue. We get the answers for the, 2 statements. But let's take another, the code window, and let me say A equals 10, B equals 3. I will just type A into B and A divided by B like this. So you see the difference. If you omit print, the output will not guaranteed. I hope you understood.
Soon after you enter that one, it start to print. No, without print. If you put like without print, soon after, why this A into B didn't print anything?
Yeah, I mean, that's how it is. Like, because when you have multiple operations without print, it will output only the last output of the last statement.
But how did you come from that line to the next line? You just jumped into the cursor, or you didn't?
No, I mean,
okay, you didn't run it. Okay,
yeah,
okay, run.
I have to. You have
okay.
to. So if you like, let's say you have something in between.
Yeah. Okay.
Even that, what will happen when you run it? You will get only the last
okay.
one. Because you don't specify it as output. You don't specify. Yeah. If you want to specify, you have to say print.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. I think time is up for today's session. So I don't know if everyone agrees, we can continue this as a, I don't know, another couple of weeks. I need like a couple of hours to finish the basics, and we can I can show you like some examples in machine learning, as well as matrix manipulations, and also visualizations. If everybody agrees, maybe I can schedule another session on that.
I hope we can continue until we get familiar with little more complicated commands and processes in Python.
Yes, exactly. So that's my point as well. So what I'm going to do is I will create a Google Classroom for those who have registered today. I will add you to the Google Classroom, and then I will share the materials with my materials with you, so that you can go through and come, and also like make the questions if you need any issues with those. So in that way, how about the same time next week?
Sampath, like since
holiday, right?